Hello, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I want to start by asking you, how did you perceive the events of October 7th here in Israel?
Well, I initially learned about October 7th when I saw an image of Shani Luke in the truck. That was my first, that's when I got the first knowledge. And I immediately knew that was the end of Gaza, you know. It was no surprise at all that they targeted women and that they treated women like that. You know, that's what they do, whether, you know, it's in Iran or whether it's in Pakistan or whether wherever it is, you know. People think that this is a land issue, Hamas versus Israel or Palestine, Israel, settlements, blah, 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 blah. But I knew, of course, that this was the ideology, that these were terrorists, this is Islamism, that this is what they were trying to do. It was in their charter. They want to eradicate all Jewish people. They don't want the state of Israel to exist. And they somehow got the opportunity to do what they've always been saying they want to do. So, you know, I felt obviously as horrified as everybody else in the world, as sick as everybody else. I couldn't even really look at my phone. I wanted to be there to support, you know what I mean, as much as I could, and to share the truth versus all of the lies and disinformation that immediately comes up. So I wanted to be able to do that on, you know, I felt responsible for doing that. But at the same time, because of my own past traumas and stuff, it was really difficult for me to do that. But, you know, it's just like coming here, you know, the day after Iran was bombing Israel, I felt like it's our, you know, we have to.
It's your duty to do so.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have to ask you, because I think one of the things that shocked us the most on October 7th was the fact that it wasn't just Hamas terrorists who participated in these horrors. It was also Palestinian civilians who got inside Israel, who took hostages, who torture innocent civilians. And after so many years that we thought the Palestinians were just want to live in peace while they're being held by Hamas, we saw them actively taking part. What do you think? Why do you think that is? Is it because they are indoctrinated from young age? What is your take on that?
Yeah, it's the classic, you know, repetition of the Jewish people. It's a repetition of your history. It's that same indoctrination to hate the other. There's a dehumanization of Jewish people that is really hard for me to describe to you as a Jewish woman sitting next to me.
But you yourself was going through, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I can tell you, as somebody who lived it, who grew up in it, and who also was anti-Semitic herself, you know, I can tell you how real this is, how deep this hate goes. It's not even hate of Jewish people. It's a disdain, you know? Like when you step on a cockroach in your house, you don't hate the cockroach. That's how they think of Jewish people. Like you shouldn't even be here. Like you don't deserve to live. I don't want you in my space. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I mean the planet. I'm not talking about just Israel. And I have to expand on that because a lot of people think that this is just hate for Jewish people or just hate for Israel. You know, these people chant death to America first, and then they chant death to Israel. This is expanded on anybody who doesn't follow their ideology, who does not have the same beliefs as they do. It's just that they had an opportunity, right? Proximity, that they were able to hurt all of those people in Israel. But if they had, and we know this from 9/11, we know this from Charlie Hebdo, we know this from the millions of stabbings and bombings and suicide vests, blah, 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 all over the world, that this is something that is global. It's a global problem.
And yet, I have to talk to you about this topic, because I'm seeing not just the Palestinian in Gaza chanting whenever Jews are being killed, but I'm seeing riots all over Europe, Australia calling to gas the Jews, and voices like yours are so important, but you can hardly hear those voices from within the Muslim world, from within the Arab world. Why is that?
Absolutely. I mean, my father is from Gaza, and I still can't even speak in this conversation. Instead, you're hearing voices of people who wouldn't be able to find Gaza on a map. You know what I mean? My father was always pro-peace with Israel. My father hated Arafat. Obviously, he was humiliated and angry that the face of Gaza was Hamas. You know what I mean? But he was in the minority. And he had to be, he was constantly being called a traitor, the Zionists are paying you, blah, blah, blah. He had to deal with so much hate because he was trying to speak up for peace in his homeland and coexistence in his homeland. So those voices, he never got a platform either, you know what I mean? Or Bassam Eid or any of the other people in these territories that want peace. We don't hear from them. Instead, we're constantly hearing, of course they are the majority, but we're constantly hearing those voices of that want death and destruction and violence, whether it's in Gaza or whether it's globally too. We don't hear the voices of people who have renounced Islam and who have renounced this ideology and who are trying to speak up against it. Those people are silenced. Their books aren't published, their articles aren't published. If you want to write about anti-West, blah, 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 of course those people are going to be fully supportive. If I put a hijab on or if a man grows a big beard, suddenly they think, oh, okay, this is a voice we want to support. So they're essentially empowering the radicals within those communities.
Yeah, well, when the matter of fact, the West should support voices like your own, who calls for women equality, who calls for giving women an opportunity to choose whether they want to wear a hijab or not, the same process that you've been going through. Why is the Western media not, supporting those voices, bringing those voices into the media?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew. I can guess that I think that especially my country of Canada, and I think it's probably the same is true for America and Australia and other Western countries, there is a partnership between Islamists and Marxists. You see the left and the Islamists, they are aligned together, and the thing that they have in common, obviously anti-Semitism is in common with both of them, but they also have an anti-West, this hate for the West, and together they think that they're going to, if they can ally together, then they can work against the West. What they don't realize is that this is a very old tactic that Islamists have used time and time again. It's now happening in the West, but like it happened in Iran, before the Islamic Revolution. And what did they do? They linked hands with the socialists and the communists, and they said, yeah, let's overthrow the Shah together. And then the day after the Islamists took power, what did they do? They murdered all of the communist leaders and the socialist leaders, or they threw them in prison, or they disappeared. They got rid of the useful idiots because they weren't useful anymore. And this is what happens when these people in the West think that they're going to ally with Islamists. It's an absolute joke. Like, these people want you dead. They're just using you for the moment because you are helping to further their cause.
Yeah. 100%. What advice would you give to the people of Israel who, in a way, after October 7th, lost hope in peace? If it was up to Israel, we would have had peace long ago. Yeah. We are living in coexistence with the Israeli Arabs. what needs to be changed in order for us to see a better future here in the Middle East?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's not in Israel's hands. You've done everything that you can towards that end right now. I think now it's the responsibility of the Arabs or the people of Gaza or the people of, in Palestine and West Bank to start to, acknowledge that this constant violence, radicalism, just guns and bullets and blood is not getting them any kind of prosperity. They have to be much more pragmatic. I'm sick and tired of this from the river to the sea supremacist attitude that they have. It's their responsibility to, evolve to the point where they can want coexistence and want peace with their neighbors. I don't know what more you can do. I don't think that it is Israel's responsibility. But I do want to say, if there's one sliver of hope that I can see now, is that pre-October 7th, even my Israeli friends would tell me, you need to relax, Yasmin. You're being too extreme. You're being too alarmist. They couldn't see what I could see because they hadn't lived what I had lived. But after October 7th, now they can see it. And once you see it, then you can deal with it. But now I feel almost a sense of hope that your state is aware that this is what our enemy is. This is what we're dealing with.
We just need everyone else to wake up,
Yes, exactly.
Everyone else who are involved in this war. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You need the rest of the West to wake up with you.
Yeah, amazing. Such powerful words. Yasmin, I want to thank you so much, and thank you for your important voice. Thank you again.
Thank you.